Some people walk into your life and leave a mark. Others walk into your life and become the whole story. The difference is not something you can see at the beginning. At the beginning, everything feels the same. The first conversation that goes longer than expected. The first time you realize you have been thinking about someone without deciding to. The first morning you wake up and their name is already in your head, before you have fully arrived at consciousness. None of this tells you at the start whether you are a chapter in someone else's story or whether they are about to become the whole book of yours. Marcus Webb found out the hard way. Most people do. He met Claire Donovan on a Wednesday in October at a used bookstore in Nashville that neither of them had any particular reason to be in at that specific hour. He was killing time before a work meeting. She was looking for a specific edition of a novel she had read in college and was convinced she would recognize by the cover. They reached for the same shelf at the same time, and the moment was not dramatic. No electricity. No movie score swell, just the ordinary awkwardness of two people in a small space, and then her laugh, which was quick and genuine and completely unself-conscious, and which Marcus would later identify as the moment, though he would not know it was the moment until much later. They talked for 20 minutes in the narrow aisle. She found her book, the wrong edition, but she decided it didn't matter. He missed his meeting and genuinely did not care. They exchanged numbers at the door, the way people do when they both know something is beginning, but neither of them wants to be the one to say it out loud. He texted her that evening. She texted back in under a minute. Claire was 31, a physical therapist, originally from Cincinnati, living in Nashville for 4 years. She was warm and direct, and had the specific quality of a person who was fully present in a conversation, who looked at you when you talked, who remembered what you had said the last time, who asked the follow-up question that proved she had been listening. She was also, Marcus would learn gradually and then all at once, a person who lived her life in chapters. She had a college chapter and a Cincinnati chapter and a Nashville chapter. And within the Nashville chapter, there were sub-chapters, and the apartment with the bad plumbing, the job at the clinic downtown, the year she trained for a triathlon and then didn't do it, the friendship group that had slowly dispersed as people married and moved. She moved through life collecting experiences and people, and then, when a chapter ended, she closed it cleanly and began the next one. She was not cold, she was warm, genuinely warm, but she had a capacity for completion that Marcus did not have and did not understand until it was too late to matter. Marcus was 33, a landscape architect, from Nashville originally, which meant the city was not an adventure for him but a home, which was a fundamental difference between them that neither of them identified early enough. He was the kind of man who loved slowly and completely. He did not have chapters. He had one long, continuous story in which certain people and places and moments accumulated, meaning over time. He was a keeper of objects, of memories, of people. His apartment was full of things that had histories. He still talked to his college roommate every week. He had lived in the same neighborhood for 8 years because he loved the specific quality of knowing a place, the way you know a person and its rhythms, its character, the way it changed through seasons. When he fell for Claire, he fell the way he did everything, fully and without reservation, in a way that would take years to undo. They were together for 14 months. The 14 months were, by the accounting of both of them, genuinely good. They were easy together in the way that some combinations of people are easy, complementary in their differences, comfortable in their silences, capable of the specific intimacy that comes from being curious about another person and having that curiosity returned. He cooked for her on Sunday evenings. She dragged him to farmers' markets on Saturday mornings, and he went willingly, which surprised him because he had never been a farmers' market person and turned out to actually be one. They spent long weekends in the Tennessee hills. They met each other's friends, and the friends approved, which meant something because both of them had friends with good judgment. He knew he loved her by month 3. He didn't say it until month 5, which was the right call. She said it back, and he believed her because she was not a person who said things she didn't mean. What he didn't understand, what he wouldn't understand until the end, was that loving someone and choosing them as your permanent story are different things, and that Claire had never confused them. The conversation happened on a Sunday in December, 14 months after the bookstore. She had been quieter than usual for 2 weeks, and he had noticed and had given her space because that was what she seemed to want. On Sunday morning, she made coffee and brought it to the couch and sat beside him and held her mug with both hands and said his name with the specific tone that means what follows is something that has been prepared. She said she had been thinking. She said she thought she needed to make a change. She was considering moving. Her clinic in Cincinnati had reached out about a position, a real opportunity, the kind of thing that didn't come up often. She had been thinking about it for 3 weeks and had not told him, which she acknowledged was not fair, and she was sorry for it. He listened. His coffee went cold. She said she cared about him. She said it clearly, and he believed it, because it was Claire, and Claire meant what she said. She said the 14 months had been real and important to her. She said she was not leaving because of him, which was true, and also, he understood somewhere in his chest, the hardest part of the whole thing. He could have fought a reason. He could not fight the absence of one. She was not leaving because he had done something wrong. She was leaving because she was beginning a new chapter, and this chapter, Nashville, the clinic, the farmers' markets, the Sunday evenings, had run its natural course for her. He was part of this chapter. He was a good part of it, a real part, a part she would carry forward, but he was not the next chapter. The next chapter was Cincinnati. He did not ask her to stay. He understood himself well enough to know that he could ask and she would consider it. Genuinely consider it, and might even say yes, and that if she said yes out of consideration, rather than certainty, it would not be the same thing and they would both know it. He said, "When are you thinking?" She said, "February." He nodded. They sat on the couch for another hour without saying much. She put her head on his shoulder and he let her, because what else do you do at the end of something real? Except let it be real for as long as it still is. She left in February. He helped her pack because she asked him to, and because he was the kind of man who helped people he loved even when the helping cost him something. He carried boxes to the moving truck in the Nashville February cold. She hugged him at the end, long and real, and he held on and then let go because that was what the moment required. He drove home and sat in his apartment and looked at the spaces where her presence had accumulated, not her belongings. She had taken those, but the impressions, the specific way a person remakes a space just by being in it often enough. And he understood, for the first time with full clarity, the difference between being a chapter and being a whole book. He had been her Nashville chapter. A good one she would remember warmly. But she would move through Cincinnati, and whatever came after Cincinnati, and the chapters would accumulate, and each one would be complete in itself, and he would be in one of them, the Nashville one, filed correctly and genuinely cherished and left behind. She was for him not a chapter. She was the organizing principle, the thing everything else arranged itself around, and that he understood now was not something he could undo by understanding it. He grieved the way he did everything, slowly and completely, without shortcuts. He talked to his college roommate, who listened without trying to fix it. He worked. He walked his neighborhood in the specific way he walked it when something was heavy, which was without destination, just the familiar streets doing what familiar things do, which is remind you that you are still located somewhere. He did not call Claire. She texted twice in the first month. Warm, checking in, genuine. He responded, kindly and briefly, because he was not capable of the easy friendship she could probably have offered, and he knew, better than to pretend otherwise. Months passed. He was not the same afterward, but he was not broken. There is a version of this story in which that kind of love, asymmetric, unreturned in its full weight, destroys a person. This was not that version. Marcus was a keeper, and keepers know how to carry things without being flattened by them. What he carried forward was not the grief eventually, but the knowledge. The knowledge that he was a person who loved completely, who did not have chapters whose heart made permanent records. He stopped treating this as a liability. He started treating it as a specific quality, the kind that would eventually find its right place. He met her at the farmer's market. A Saturday in September, 2 years after Claire. He was there because he had become, genuinely, a farmer's market person, which was one of the true things the Nashville chapter with Claire had left him. Her name was Julia. She was looking at heirloom tomatoes. with the focus of a person who had strong opinions about tomatoes, which Marcus found immediately interesting. He made a comment about the tomatoes, a real one, not a line, and she turned and said something back that was sharp and funny and completely undefended, and they talked for 20 minutes. In the farmer's market, the way he had once talked for 20 minutes in a bookstore, except this time he recognized something he had not known to look for before. She was not a person who lived in chapters. He could tell by the way she talked about her city. She had been in Nashville for 11 years and spoke about it the way he spoke about it, with the specific love of someone who has chosen to be known by a place. She had a best friend she had known since college. She talked about her family with the ease of someone whose relationships had accumulated rather than cycled. He did not know, standing in the farmer's market on a September Saturday, how the story would end. He knew only that he was capable of real love, and that real love was not a liability, and that this was possibly the beginning of something. He bought the tomatoes. So did she. She laughed about it. He laughed about it. They exchanged numbers at the edge of the market. In the September Nashville morning, and this time, when he looked at her, he understood clearly what he was and what he needed, and he was not afraid of either. Some people are chapters. Some people are the whole book. For the first time in 2 years, Marcus Webb felt ready to find out which one this was going to be.